Hey everyone, hope your week's going well. This week I've been working on memorization a bunch, so I wanted to just give you a little update on how that's going. I shared a little bit about this in the email, but basically I just realized that what I really want to do is, with Type the Word, is provide a great toolkit for you guys to like bring the Bible into your classroom. With memorization specifically, I had this like idea, and I think this is sort of like a softwareism that like the software needed to like automate things for you. And like this whole concept of like has the kid memorized the scripture or not was what I was trying to automate. But then I realized that like memorizing scripture is like actually it takes like there's like some judgment that like is required for like is the scripture memorized, and there's also like so many edge cases of do we care about memorizing the reference or not, um, and just like things like that that I realized of like creating something that would like magically figure that out for you, I could just like give you a toolkit for um, like how to like assess that yourself. One of my favorite tools is called Linear, and Linear is basically like a project management software. I'm using it for Type the Word. I have like it allows you to like create issues and projects and like move the issues around very easily and organize yourself. So like this is how I figure out like what I'm working on this week and how I like um, execute on like Type the Word. And it's also what I use at work. And the thing I really like about Linear is it doesn't like, unlike other project management software, it doesn't like tell you what to do. It just gives you the tools to do what you think you should do. And I think this is really empowering to me, and that's what I want to do for you guys. I want to empower you to be as good of like Bible teachers as possible. So um, bringing that back to Type the Word, instead of doing something like um, where I like would automatically track progress of the kids, I actually want to. I ended up creating something called goals, and goals are like basically uh, they're like things that like typing a section of scripture isn't a goal. It's like that's a thing you do, whereas like a goal is like a bigger task that you can't just do in one setting, and that you want to like track your progress to over time. And that's also like what I'm like memorizing scripture it takes like coming back to the scripture and like rereading it and doing different like things to like basically help it like stick in your mind. So the first step in like supporting memorization I realized was like we needed like a unit of uh, like almost like yeah, like encapsulating like things that aren't just like one and done. So currently, like in this project, for example, or classroom, I have like this goal to like type Ephesians, and down here I have these two Ephesians scriptures that are now connected to this goal. I can go to this goal, and it has like a status. It has like a start date and an end date, and the classroom is associated with. And then there's also um, like this is just like something I can and type in for the name. And similar to Linear, it actually like just like auto saves the stuff. There's no like save button because I feel like having stuff just auto save as you change is like there's something psychological about just like feeling like empowered to just like modify and change things, which is how I want you guys to feel when you're using this. Still need to bring that to like the rest of this like classroom experience, but um, then you can go ahead and like create an assignment directly in this page, and it will create it um, for this goal. Alternatively, if you already have assignments, you can move them into a goal. So, for example, I will create like we'll type Ephesians 3, and then create this assignment. And this assignment was just created outside of a goal, but I can just like now um, use this like move to and like move it to the Ephesians goal. And with that, it's now within type Ephesians. So any other goals you had before, you can now move into goals. I'm going to be making this easier with like drag and drop and stuff, but for now, it's just that like menu is how you can do it. And then Uh, the other thing I added this week, which can hopefully be helpful for memorization type goals, is like repetitions. So basically allowing you to have certain assignments that like require the kids to like type through things multiple times. So for example, I want to like scripture that's been meaningful to me is um, Joshua 1, 8 through 9. This is cool scripture about courage. I'll just leave the dates blank for now. And then what I want to do is just like create assignments to type Joshua 1, 8. And I'll type that like 4 times. And then I'll create another assignment for Joshua 1, 9. And I'll type this 4 times. So then from like a student's perspective, what this looks like is, well, these assignments are not published, so I'll just jump in. And like, you can imagine like, we're gonna start with Joshua 1, 8. I'll publish this task, and then this is kind of like the new feature I was talking about is, I think I mentioned earlier in this video, is basically like allowing, having like repetitions on like the actual scripture you're typing. So honestly, this is kind of a long verse, so I'm not gonna make you like watch me type it, but you can imagine like as I type this verse, it just like auto focuses the beginning of the verse again, and I have to type this verse like 4 times to like actually complete the assignment. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I typed the verse. It just like automatically refocus the beginning of the verse for me, and then it shows like how many times I need to type it. And then if there are multiple verses you're having the student type through, it will also like count the number of verses here. And then there's basically like an overall progress on like across the different repetitions. So something else I changed this week actually too is like this like box is shorter, which is hopefully gonna be helpful on shorter screens. But yeah, back in the like teacher page, you can then see the progress on this assignment. And then goals is also eventually going to have like visibility into like the progress on the whole goal. Currently, this is just showing the actual assignments, and you can't see like a goal-wide progress, but like the goal is going to be like a home for like a lot of like features related to just like tracking student progress in general across the school. Other thing I wanted to say is this week I'll be adding like assessments and probably different like typing modes basically for supporting memorization, because like specifically like the best way I've found for memorizing scripture is like reading scripture until I remember it enough to like and then I'll have like a note card where like on one side of the note card I have the scripture, and on the other side I have like the first letters of each of the words. So like memorizing it enough so that I can just like say it based on each of the first letters, and then reading that enough so that I can just like remember it in general is like the most effective way I found for memorization. I think I want to like bring in a mode, like a first letter mode like that. There's probably also going to be like a mode for where like words will be incrementally like removed from the scripture and they still have to type the scripture. And then, like I said, also bringing an assessment mode, so you can basically like run through a couple of these iterations, do an assessment on a Friday, and then kind of like maybe on Monday like come up with a new plan for progress, or continue to have kids work on the same memorization goals the next week with a new set of prompts or assignments. That's kind of like the iteration loop I think will be helpful for memorizing scripture. But yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this, all these changes, and especially if you have any like hot takes on like how to memorize scripture effectively. I'd love to hear yeah, your tips and stuff. Anyway, I will talk to you guys next week. Have a blessed week.